Well, the duo of Prismat and Draded were able to give Octalysis, as well as the rest of the players there, a win in Game 1 on Dragonshire versus ENDEMIC, but ENDEMIC brought it back, getting Alex Straza for Michael Udall. So a lot of these power picks for teams coming in. Phoenix, right now, undefeated in this series, too.
He's not too bad. Phoenix is at the top for a lot of reasons, but definitely bringing the pain in that, and it's very tough to get the takedown on that. So things working out well, and that's something that we've known ENDEMIC to definitely have a high priority on. So seeing if that trend will continue.
Well, another thing trending through this series is first pick winning games. So Octalysis are keen to get that back after the last loss they suffered on Infernal Shrines. They'll have first pick, and ENDEMIC's taking us back to Cursed Hollow.
Cursed, where a heavy dose of Hanzo is always good. We'll see if that does continue. Tyrael also does well on this battleground if we do want to see a bit more melee. You know, one thing that, again, could potentially flex out. We saw the Zeratul ban in game number 1. Depending on draft, if no Hanzo is available, Zeratul is always the X-Factor hero. Either you'll never see him, or when you see him, you're like, oh, this is still here, and it is very threatening. And I always wonder, Octalysis, I think, is the team that has had the most Zeratul bans against them, most notably because they picked up the Zeratul early on in this phase. So I think it's on everybody's mind every time they play against Octalysis that you have to be wary of that.
Well, it's clear that Draded wants to be playing melees as much as the compositions and the flexibility and the maps will allow. They want to be in the face of ENDEMIC. They want to be in the face of all their opponents. Worked versus Simplicity. It didn't work as well last game. ENDEMIC knew that was coming, though. That was a composition that ENDEMIC or Octalysis had run before. So ENDEMIC had to know it was coming and felt confident that they could deal with it with a lot of what had worked for them before.
Dahaka coming out as the first ban. We also have to keep in mind
Abathur, especially because Octalysis played Abathur Valera.
Yes, and that the Valera generally shows up at the back end of draft as that surprise pick, but needless to say, Genji and Abathur are available, or Genji and Tracer, if the Abathur ban comes through. All
Instigated by Octalysis and that Dahaka ban. ENDEMIC have some tough choices for this ban.
I'm gonna, like, one day I'm gonna go talk to production, be like, Josh, listen, is there any way that we have an entire package of off-screen Gilly dance? Because she, like, every time it's like thank you, man. Like, it's like the game is loading, the map is showing, and then it goes in like literally seconds before. It's like, okay, I'll stop now. There's got to be a full dance package. But either way, Abathur banned out, ETC picked up, Genji available, Hanzo there. This is a very decisive first two picks. No thoughts, no hesitation, which surprises me because we generally don't see both of these heroes allowed in this slot.
I'll say it, I am flummoxed. That is a first pick ETC.
Hoping you've got something.
I don't. Obviously, Octalysis does. The world was their oyster, except for a couple of globals. They could pick anything they wanted there. They could get the Genji, they could get the Hanzo. ETC will give some peel to that. They get a global solo laner, possibly, if they're going to run it in there. That didn't work for Kier. Maybe it'll work for Goku. Goku's played it before.
Octalysis had a unique strategy very early this year, where they had a Rhaegar Greymane heavy rotation, and we've seen teams start to pick up on that recently, to where you use that Greymane for that structure value. The early game structures are obviously diminished in terms of experience. So I don't think it has the same impact as when they ran that. They did get the Greymane. That is a start. Murden picked up, which means ETC will be the solo. Karazim and Rhaegar still fit that. The reason Rhaegar, I don't know if he had Lightning Bond still at the time, but either way, Rhaegar and Karazim are the ones that could move forward with it.
Lightning Bond was removed right before GCW, or in the middle of GCWC, so that is possible. You don't often get to see Genji Hanzo, let alone Genji, in the game because he's banned so much, but these two can set each other up very well. We've seen Tempo Storm, Vin have a Dragon's Arrow that gave Fan the ability to slice down. I think he got a triple kill with the Dragon Blade. I've seen Poik and Snitch have a lot of success in the poke of Hanzo, then setting up for Swift Strike kills of Genji. I'm excited for this duo of ENDEMIC. They just need to get a good support system around it.
Is Li Ming going to be a thing, though, on the back end of that? I mean, it gives you more team fight. But
of ENDEMIC?
No.
Oh.
Dallas.
I was like...
That face you made kind of scared me.
You scared me!
Octalysis, though, obviously, we know Johanna. If you want to make sure to get more value out of Greymane, him not being blinded helps.
Mm-hmm. Has been B-Kid's most picked warrior, one of his most picked warriors, but he still has Diablo as a possibility. I was going to say Muradin, but Octalysis kind of has a monopoly over the warriors right now.
Again, it's been a bit since we've seen the old Dragon Arrow APOC combination, but if you wanted to go that, Dragon Arrow APOC and then Genji Dragon Blade or X Strike to follow that.
Oof.
Not too bad.
I'm trying to think of other warriors that we've seen in NA so far. It's hard when you move past Johanna and Diablo, talking about win rates, and those aren't everything, guys. It also matters what's drafted within the composition. Like we've seen ETC get wins, although generally they're few and far between. He has a hard time.
Yeah.
Muradin's sitting at like a 45%, so he's pretty safe, pretty solid.
Loktar, oh god.
Garrosh.
That works excellently right now against this style of composition. But wow, it has been a bit since we've seen. This is not off tank Arthas. This is main tank Arthas, and the reason being, obviously, the aura he's able to use gives you the auto attack speed slow, and ETC does like to get a little bit of auto attack action. Greymane especially does, and even Muradin, because generally Muradin is picking up Give him the Axe, and if you can slow down those attacks, then definitely minimizing a lot of damage coming your way.
He is an old school Greymane counter. There was a time when Greymane was in every game, and because of that, Arthas was in a lot of games, though he was in the solo lane position.
Yeah,
this is going to be probably B-Kid playing that Arthas, but B-Kid is an old school tank player who was switched over to the solo lane, so if anyone's going to be able to pull this off, it's him or Fury. Fury also does like Arthas. Then again, so does Justin. Okay, so we have a few Arthas players here in North America.
Well, for Arthas right now, I mean, the biggest problem with Arthas, he lacks mobility.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. Rhaegar picked up, and they do get the Li Ming. So this is more by the books. The ETC obviously does give you the global, a little bit different than we would expect. But they have the structure, sieging potential with this composition. And we're gonna get the Uther, so the ultimate lockdown when somebody dives in.
There are a lot of different ways that support could have gone. There was nothing banned out. If ENDEMIC wanted to run a Kharazim gives movement speed to try to get Arthas into a better position with that Frozen Tempest. It's all about trying to get in and get on your targets. Once you get there, then you have the slows that set you up in a better place for body blocks. They're slowed so that you can try to hit Howling Blast, which then moves you into a better position too. Blaze, though, Blaze should be able to help out with that somewhat. Kier getting a jet propulsion, then Uther or Arthas, everyone can try to get in on top of that target. What do you think?
I feel like Octalysis is trying to do something similarly to what we saw ENDEMIC try and pull off in game number 1, is to control camps, siege down structures. This is a much larger battleground where it's hard to give up lanes. And I think for Octalysis, looking at their history, I think this is where they play that similar style of rotating. For me, though, it's going to be a matter of anchoring, and the ENDEMIC rotations, because I'm looking at their composition, and sometimes on this battleground, by the time you rotate up, it's too late. So what you would generally do is trade structures. But then you see you have a Genji and a Hanzo. Your siege potential is way far below that of Octalysis in the early game.
And they are fairly light on wave clear. Not that Octalysis has a ton to sneeze at, but does have the Greymane. Rhaegar's gonna help a little bit. Li Ming, if she gets in the right position, can use cooldowns to get rid of him. We have seen ENDEMIC have excellent rotations throughout an early and mid game to respond to a double global composition that Freedom had, but that was on Sky Temple, that was on ENDEMIC's map. So we'll see if ENDEMIC can do it again, have the foreshadowing enough, the foresight to see where Octalysis plans to go. And right now, they're planning for a B-Kid kill.
I think they're gonna get it. And now this is for Octalysis. We saw on Sky Temple, ENDEMIC push straight down the mid lane when they knew their opponent would be pushing a top or bottom lane. And Octalysis has a similar strategy. They gave him the old fakey 500, I guess is what we're gonna call it here. I don't know. We're adding a number to it because it sounds cool. Don't try and argue that, Gilly. But they went back and they're like, LOL JK, we're actually still coming this way. Thanks for the free kill.
Justin gave Kira the old stunny 500.
It can't be the same number, Gilly.
I think he stumped it. Okay, 501. Just slightly better. I think he stopped around to the jet propulsion too. Heads up. Really nicely done there. It's these little things that get us through the early game. Camp acquired for Octalysis. They pick up the Giants as they're going to start pushing along with Goku in the bottom lane. And our first tribute will be in the bottom center.
Siege Camp will give them a little bit to deal with this because Goku on an ETC definitely loses out against a Blaze in the early game. It's not until 7 that ETC does have, it's not really respectable, but it's at least something. Echo Pedal or Pinball Wizard, depending on what you want to go.
Well, Octalysis use that duo of the Greymane Rhaegar and get another camp timed out so they can defend versus the camp of ENDEMIC underneath the towers. Though it does sustain a little bit of tower damage. Nice wear of the Stormbow. Slows down. 1 tower acquired for ENDEMIC. And now this Bruiser camp is going to be pushing out at a very nice timing for Octalysis.
You know, I just thought about this because this is... I've seen Arthas, I think Last Hope played Arthas, but that was in the secondary warrior role on Battlefield of Eternity, if I remember correctly. This is Arthas post-armor removal, which Arthas had the... That was another reason why he was more of a counter. Not only does he slow the auto attack speeds when you're in that aura, but he had physical armor before. He no longer has that physical armor. So this is a different Arthas, and so this is a newer version that I have yet to see since those changes. Arthas, again, just does not show up that often anymore.
Both ETC and Murden can give themselves armor versus the damage. There's going to be Icebound Fortitude, though, still, for Arthas. Cure is dead. Dreaded, almost, though. Lives with the jukes around ENDEMIC's big impact. Doesn't seem done with this, but Prismatis and Majestic are doing all they can to force him all the way back until Dreaded can heal back up.
I cannot believe he lived there.
I can't either, but great teamwork from Octalysis to enable that. I'm going to be watching Prismatis in this game, though, because his Li Ming versus Simplicity rocked.
He's continuing with his Charge Blast build, making sure to get extra damage when he does hit with those magic missiles, getting those autos in after. The minute he starts doing something like Seeker, then, you know, we know it's full. I still remember Caterpillar on a Li Ming on this game. I believe it was versus an Illidan, maybe a year or two. I think it would have been about 2 years ago. Went Charge Blast and Cannoneer and like basically 100 to 0'd somebody between that 413 combo on the Magic. It was insane. Bot lane, I still remember it. I've never seen anything like it. Since then, I never saw anything before it. And
you will never see anything like that again because nobody takes that build anymore.
It was insane, though. Shout out to Cattle.
I think iDream used to run that build, too.
It was a little bit common at that time, but the manner in which he used it to just blast somebody. Sorry about the pop there.
Like my eardrums.
I'm getting too excited about
the Cannoneer. Well, we've got another tribute to get excited about, Jay Howe, and it's in Octalysis' court. Still, there's a giant camp in the top that's going to give ENDEMIC some time to move in. Good positioning here, and B-Kid will be standing at the front, holding the line as Michael Udall channels, and that scatter arrow did not hit him. Against all odds, ENDEMIC ties up the tribute count just like they tied up this series for the last game.
Clearly there's the focus. Genji was dealing with ETC bottom, Li Ming was dealing with the Siege Camp top, and you got to try and just fight it out there, and things working out for ENDEMIC especially. It's funny because it's been in neutral areas. Well, the first one was neutral. That one was more in Octalysis's favor. But it seems like they're just kind of trading out right now.
Can we agree it's Octalysis and just leave it at that and expect people to know based on context clues that it's going to be the pluralization? Because Octalysis is not friendly to a caster's mouth. It's not friendly to ears, probably. I had just said it, which is why I'm deciding.
Octalysis.
That's it.
We're just going full on through the entire English language.
I like that so much better.
Well, I don't think it's correct.
Well, you know what? We get to make the rules.
We do. We have the microphone. Prismat, though, ended up having to go in for the auto. Nice interrupt of the stun there by Justy, but Prismat still under assault. Just able to get out of range of that Stormbow from Dansky. That was a heads-up play by Justin Killy.
That was very well done. Unfortunately for Octalysis, it was used in a way just to get Prismaticism out alive. They do have an experienced lead. It's barely a lead. And they make a quick rotation to get a camp, but they have fallen behind now in the tributes, and ENDEMIC is sitting on Curse Point.
Disintegrate, maybe for a little bit more poke that they are lacking, but they also have the dive potential into the backline. Now with stage dive picked up.
Justing, what you doing there? How threatening is this composition to enough? He picked Avatar. Now do we see a Dragon Blade or an X-Strike for Genji? Dragon Blade, leading me to believe that this should be a Divine Shield.
Dragon Blade is kind of a thing of the past, just due to the fact that X-Strike is a much safer choice. And the Divine Shield is picked up, so we will have that out in full effect.
That plus Bunker and Arthas slows, all geared in a way to protect both Genji and Hanzo, but especially that Genji when he moves into Dragon Blade, though both do have their own agility escapes. ETC plus a boss in the top, boss in the bottom for Octalysis, and a mercenary camp in the mid just now picked up for ENDEMIC.
This tribute here will be Curse Point if ENDEMIC picks it up. ETC will get everything out of his global, but he has already joined the fight. There's going to be a route, a power slide over, but the bunker comes down first.
And the Dragon's Arrow hits for Dragon Blade, quick to follow, and Ancestral Healing goes out, but unfortunately Prismaticism falls, and that's the resets. That is everything. ETC is the second to go down, and ENDEMIC cutting through the competition.
They were stacked on top of each other, and Prismat blinked out. Ancestral overlap there, unfortunately landed on the wrong target. I don't think that's Buds' fault. I mean, you have to be pixel perfect there. And that was just way too tough. Justin trying to get the Hearth. He's going to be spotted out. Puts down the Thunderclap. No healing static available at the moment. They're going to get that takedown. That's going to stagger a bit. Still short death timers. But the curse here for ENDEMIC, structure number 1 goes down. That camp was pushing mid, but ENDEMIC has their focus here on the bot lane, which is a high priority for them.
Yes, they do, because that boss lane, Tempo Storm executed that to a T in the last series. And ENDEMIC hopes to do the same. They pick up the Giants from Octalysis. They're looking at level 13 by taking down that keep tower. They want more. The boss was cleared up in the top. The silver lining for Octalysis is that it did take down the fort. It has given them some experience. Are they willing to fight over this? 15 seconds remains for this curse, but that keep is not firing.
Dragon Arrow again. Cleanse is going to be used on the Justin. Traded. He walks away for the moment. Bunker down. Power slide. Again a miss because perfect bunker timing. This keeps sitting at about half health. We'll see how long they stay in here. Cure dives in deep, trying to get some damage. Keep still standing, but not for long.
Have the heals. Will they sacrifice someone? Stage dive is going to drop down on a lot of ENDEMIC here as Big Impact Swift strikes out. They get the keep. Now they look to get away. B-Kid still the optimal target if they can get it. Try to hit him with the Stormbolt. The disintegrate damage is there. Cursed Bullet. And the Divine Shield finally used. Michael Udall holding that for a very long time. So a 3-man Howling Blast. Nice, B-Kid.
B-Kid somehow survives there. Ooh.
He used Icebound even.
Yeah.
He saw a lot of skill shots coming his way.
But the play, Buds almost had a perfect play there. He ended up using the Feral Lunge onto Uther, the further target, to try and see if he could get the body block onto Arthas. Unfortunately, didn't have enough follow-up there. If you're wondering why he didn't bite the Arthas, it was to try and get into body block, maybe if he had a totem available or time for a totem. But it was perfectly played by ENDEMIC to get away from there. But the plays are being attempted by Octalysis, but now they find themselves down almost 2 levels.
Mission accomplished by ENDEMIC, though. They get the curse. They left ETC to his devices with the boss in the top because they knew they could get more by having the camp in the mid and by pushing along with the remnants of their boss in the bottom lane. They went further, they get the keep, and now it's a waiting game for ENDEMIC until that next boss timer, which will be in 1 minute and 20 seconds.
That's a huge point of contention because in 1 minute and 20 seconds, ENDEMIC will be right around level 16 and Octalysis will be nowhere near. And that's the scary part about getting down during that first curse phase. Just losing keep wall would have been bad enough, but losing the entire keep, as we saw from our earlier series, means that those calls become far more desperate unless you can start getting kills now. Not when that boss is spawned, but you have to get them now before it's too late.
And it's excellent usage of abilities from ENDEMIC. First the bunker when B-Kid was falling low, but then keeping Divine Shield and knowing that because they still have that, they could stay around. They could risk some health, some of their health bars, just purely on that fact. And now Octalysis is getting in there. They're getting risky because they know they're running out of time, out of options. They're going to stage dive in and put the damage in on this mid-court. Great power slide from Goku.
B-Kid pops into the bunker. Biggie comes in with the Swift Strike. Dragon Zero used again. Dragon Blade is out. D-Shield is there trying to rip apart those targets. Ancestral does hit the mark. Goku with the face melt and the slide out. Gives him a little bit of space, but traded under assault as well. And Team Octalysis, licking their wounds, has to retreat. As that of ENDEMIC, outside of Biggie, they are looking very healthy.
And you notice that there's a tribute at the top, but ENDEMIC are beelining elsewhere. That's the sign that the boss is ready. They have a Hanzo, and ENDEMIC are ready to go up 2-0 or 2-1 in this series. They don't quite have the 16 though. Did they jump the gun? Octalysis off the map. They are not willing to give this up, not without another fight.
The good news for Octalysis is they still have the global, but they know they can't afford to give this up. They don't have eyes on all of ENDEMIC, but they see that camp picked up. They saw the assault from the bottom right as well, so they know that they're on multiple sides here. But now that 16's picked up, you can use the ETC to grab that, but I don't think they can concede this point. I mean, especially with a Hanzo on the other side that will just shred this boss.
But there's a camp that's starting to push top. There's a camp now in the mid. ENDEMIC using that Hanzo and indeed shredding through its health bar. Octalysis are back again one more time. Swift Strike hit a lot of people, J-How.
Goku gets on point, actually steals the boss away. No matter what happens at this point, this is a way for them to survive, barring a team wipe, which might be imminent. Prismat jumps over. There's going to be the first to fall. If Octalysis lives, they can stay in this game.
Man, the damage that ENDEMIC is putting out, along with that Arthas, plus the Hanzo and Genji, I know that Buzz has got to be like, guys, I only have one Ancestral. What more can you ask of me? But stealing that boss was huge. But is it enough? There's still no Muradin, there's no ETC, which means there's no frontline really for Buds and the 2 damage dealers. But a Li Ming, if she can start to get resets, might be able to save this.
Well, here comes the Dragon Blade. It's out. Biggie and team are on core, 60% and falling. ENDEMIC looking to end this, and it looks like they might have done it. As Uther the first to fall, that's exactly who you want. That's going to pass out the heals. Kills too little, too late. ENDEMIC comes out here. Cursed Hollow goes up 2-1 in this series.
Very well done by ENDEMIC, proving that whatever happened with the Warriors, the Warrior Choke, and the draft, getting Hanzo and Genji together was worth it because they could execute with those heroes.
Arthas OP confirmed. The first pick ETC. You know, at the end of this week, Gilly, I'm tallying the numbers. First, we're going to look at ETC's win rate, but second most, I want to see stage dive ETC win rate because it's been rough. It has been rough. And the commitment towards the ETC, we saw Dahaka ban into a first pick ETC with a clear focus on it being a global as they picked up Muradin before that second ban.
Right.
So the strategy is there. Is ETC really the better global than Dahaka at this point?
Well, I think it functioned both as a warrior choke and global choke at the same time. It's just that it didn't work. It did not have the same effect that they would have wanted. And despite having stage dive, despite having these camp heroes that theoretically should be the control of the lanes, you can't say no to a Hanzo who can take boss that fast and the team fight that ENDEMIC just had, because as long as they traded out the boss and then getting the curse the way that they did, and a lot of that was that they got the tribute that was on Octalysis' side of the map. ETC is 28% win rate coming in today, by the way.